This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates Athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're looking back on the Head of the Charles, our rowing team's first fall regatta of the year, with senior co-captain Molly Pritz. The men's soccer team stunned Middlebury on the road, and the field hockey team achieved a big milestone. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The football team visited Middlebury on Saturday and quickly grabbed a 9-0 lead over the Panthers. Joe Frake got the game off on a good note with an interception, and punter Justin Foley pinned the Panthers at their own 1-yard line. Then the Bobcat defense, led by Mark Upton, attacked and got 2 points on the board thanks to his safety. After getting the ball in great field position, it was the offense's turn to put points up on the board. Sophomore Sandy Plashkus connected with Brian Daly for a 48-yard touchdown strike. The extra point put Bates up 9-0 with 8:49 left in the first quarter. The Bobcats still had the 9-0 lead at the end of the first, but after that it was all Panthers. Jared Leibowitz passed for 394 yards and 3 touchdowns as Middlebury scored 28 unanswered points to beat Bates 28-9. On Monday, we spoke to head coach Mark Harriman to recap the Middlebury game and to preview the start of the CBB Series this Saturday against Colby.
Well, Coach, the game against Middlebury could not have started any better for you guys. You got that big interception by Joe Frake when he was able to tip it and come down with it, break down that play, and the play Frake made to start off the game.
Yeah, it was I think well executed by everybody. They sprinted out, and Joe did a great job getting a lot of width on the route, and our defensive end, Jack Maritz, was able to get wide and contain everything, and Mark Upton second contained it and got a little pressure, and quarterback had to throw the ball, and Joe made a great play and put our offense in really good field position.
And the offense did have to punt, but Justin Foley able to pin him at the 1-yard line. That's nice to see after the kind of special teams troubles of previous week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He did a great job all day, but that was a huge one. We were getting close to the range of whether we were going to go for it on fourth down or not, and we made the decision to let him try to, which he's done a great job of really through his career, but let him trying to get the ball down in there tight, and he did a phenomenal job with it.
And then that set up a play where Mark Upton was able to tackle the back in the end zone for the safety. This is him making plays, right? That's all he does.
Yeah, I mean, and nothing away from Mark because he, obviously, but there were a lot of guys around the ball on that one. I mean, we stat a little differently than the guys in the box because obviously we can run it back and forth, and it was a half a TFL for a couple of guys, but Mark was certainly one of them, and like I said, we had a lot of guys around the football, and that was a great lift for our team.
Yeah, it always seems like no matter what level, whether it be high school, college, even the NFL, when you're backed up on your 1-yard line, it's very difficult for the offense. Tell us a little bit, maybe for fans who might not understand, because why it makes it so difficult and why maybe it puts more pressure on them.
Yeah, well, again, I think part of the issue is two things. You want to, first and foremost, the thought is to get enough room to be able to kick the ball out. Very few teams are going to take, especially inside the one, take a shot at throwing the ball. So, it leads into playing aggressively defensively. Again, we were able to do that and come away with it. One of the problems I think nowadays, and I'm sounding old school here, is that with everybody in the shotgun, the ball's technically going to be about 4 yards deep in the end zone when the ball carrier actually gets it in his hands. So that, to me, is another, positive for the defense.
Sure, and then Bates was able to take a 9-0 lead when Sandy found Brian Daly for a long touchdown. What happened on that play to allow Daly to get open? And, Daly's been a big playmaker so far. Tell us a little bit more about him and his development.
Yeah, well, he's done a good job all year long. He's a guy that's really put his time in, and has shown flashes along the way, but really taking the next step as far as being a guy that we can count on to make plays. He's certainly got good speed. He can get off the line of scrimmage and release, and has done a good job catching the ball as well. The play itself was Sandy was able to break, contain, and they were in man coverage. And again, anytime you can extend a play when a team's in man coverage, similar to what we did a couple of weeks ago with in the last 2 weeks actually with Sean Peterson and Frankie the week before that, is Sandy did a good job of getting his eyes downfield and seeing that Brian had his guy beat and got the ball to him.
Nice, but then after that, Middlebury woke up, I guess. I mean, what changed? Did you sense it changed? Was there a turning point in the game that you observed?
We gave him too many opportunities. We can't turn the ball over 3 times against a quality opponent. Again, arguably the top team, if not one of the 2 top. We'll find out this week who the top team is, but they've got a phenomenal quarterback. He's as good as I've seen in the 19 years that I've been here, with his arm strength and again his ability to extend plays. But again, we gave him too many opportunities. Besides, not when we turn the ball over, it takes one less chance for us to score. It gives them another opportunity to be on the field, and I thought overall defensively we did a great job as far as stepping up situationally. They had the ball in our territory 5 or 6 times and came away empty, except for a couple of times, and they hit a couple of big plays on us, which we anticipate that's going to happen. We just, as I think I mentioned to you last week, we needed to keep them off the field, and we certainly were a little bit. We were better than a week ago offensively, but we need to be more consistent. There were times we showed flashes of really coming around and being able to do the things we need to do, and then there were other times we were very inconsistent. So we got to certainly get that squared away for this week.
Both teams have to play in the same weather, but how do rainy conditions impact a football game? Maybe specifically this one, perhaps, if at all.
I don't think it had any impact. Playing on field turf is a little bit different than playing in mud. Right. So the field conditions were not an issue. The wind was not really an issue. They had predicted heavy winds, but we didn't get it at game time. And again, we've played in enough wet conditions, practice and games, that it's unless the balls are absolutely completely soaked, it's not an issue. I don't think that had anything to do with their turnovers or our turnovers. It was just again, both teams were on the same field, so.
Peter Boyer led the team in rushing. Obviously, he's a sophomore. He got some playing time last year. He's been getting a lot of playing time this year. What are your observations about his performance so far this season and as one of the primary dive backs?
Yeah, no, he's doing a good job. I mean, he continues to run hard, which is what we need that position to do. I mean, it certainly sets everything else up, and he has the ability to see when he does have more than 3 yards in a cloud of dust to be able to wind back or hit it out front side and make something out of it.
Anybody stand out to you in that game? I mean, obviously, a tough loss, but a good start to the game. Anybody else who stood out that you wanted to tell us about from that game?
Yeah, I thought Tyler Harrington played probably the best game we've had out of a defensive lineman here in quite a while, to be honest with you. He has been coming on every week, and just both he and Jack Merritts, I thought, played really, really well at the edge positions for us, and that was a big positive as far as being able to get pressure on a very good quarterback, and thought that they really both took the next step.
Excellent. So Harrington and Merritt's guys to watch out for this upcoming week, perhaps against Colby coming to town, beginning of the CBB. How pumped is the team?
Oh yeah, I mean this is it. I mean, if you can't get excited about this one, for us this is the part of our irregardless of where we are in the first part of the season. This is just a huge game. Being at home in front of our home fans is always great, and I know our guys will be really excited to go out and get after Colby.
Last year, a 10-9 victory over Colby at their place. Defensive struggle. Justin Foley won NESCAC Special Teams Performer of the Week for pinning them inside the 20 a bunch of times. Do you anticipate another perhaps defensive struggle based on the personnel, or what do you think in terms of what you've seen from them on film?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I think they're probably very similar to us. They've played some really good teams in the first 5 weeks, and they probably, if you look statistically, are almost exactly like we are defensively, and we're both probably trying to find our identity. They've played a freshman quarterback the last couple of weeks, so we're probably two very similar teams. Playing unless people have played in this type of rivalry, you literally, a team could be 5-0 and the other team could be 0-5, and it would go down to the wire. I mean, we very rarely had a game that wasn't a really close game going down into the fourth quarter. It's just, the guys on both sides of the field understand that the significance of the game and the history around it, and they're certainly excited to play in it.
Yeah, what would it mean to the program to win 3 straight outright CBB titles? Because I think that's never been done. Maybe in the main state series back in the 1800s, but not since then.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's something that we strive for every year. I mean, it's certainly we've got the trophy right now, and we'd like to keep it here. So it's definitely to me, that's somewhat, when we talk to the team, a little bit of an afterthought. That's reaping the rewards of going out and winning a game. This is the, again, I know it's a coaching cliche, but it's obviously a huge game, but it's the next game on our schedule, and it's a team that I think matches up with us well. That's a positive and somewhat a negative, and we got to go out and execute. We've got to be a better team when we all wake up on next Sunday than we were right now.
All right, Coach, thanks so much. We're looking forward to the Colby game this Saturday.
Thanks.
The field hockey team got the week off to a strong start with a 4-0 victory over Southern Maine on Tuesday. The win gives the Bobcats 8 on the season, their most in 1 year since 1999. We caught up with head coach Danny Ryder right after the game.
Well, Coach, a midweek here, 4-0 non-conference victory over Southern Maine. 1-0 lead at halftime, got 3 goals in the second half. What picked things up for you all in the second half, you think?
We just talked about our intensity was really good, but it needed to be a bit more purposeful. The first half intensity was good. They were creating a ton of opportunities, but it just wasn't purposeful in the sense of finishing that last little play. We were just rushing it once we got into the 25, so we just adjusted that, and they did a really nice job with it.
Couple of goals for first-year Isa Garcia Moreno. She had a couple goals earlier in the year and now 2 more here. What's been her progress this season?
I think her progress has just come along with just practices, and she's really put a lot of hard work into practice, and she goes at the same pace all the time, and so it's just going to pay off for her the more she trains that way.
Excellent. And then obviously 8 wins now this year. That is the most for the program since 1999. What does that mean to you as a head coach?
It means a lot, and I think it means a lot to the team as well. Since day one getting here, and some of these girls have graduated, but they hold that same sentiment of we are only willing to build up, and so it's just nice when we reach these little milestones, but we just want to keep moving forward and not ever settle.
While the field hockey and women's soccer teams fell at Middlebury on Saturday, the men's soccer team pulled off an upset, defeating the number 15 nationally ranked Panthers 3-2 in overtime. Senior Matt DeVete scored both goals in regulation, and Peebo Kanath scored the game winner in the extra session. Head coach Stuart Flaherty joined the Bobcast to recap the win. 3-2 overtime victory over the number 15 team in the country, Middlebury. First, take us through the match. I know it was a wet conditions, and how your team handled it.
Yeah, it was really wet conditions, which I'm from Middlesbrough, England, and it never rains there, so it was really something to get used to. We went 1-0 down in the game. We didn't play great in the first half hour. They ended up with a lot of free kicks in our half. We ended up defending an awful lot of set plays. There was a couple of tactical things we were doing to not make our own life easy, but we managed to get back in level at half-time. Erica Poku picked the ball up, found Justin Iacovino, passed it quickly, one touch to Matt DeVete, who hit one of the best goals I've seen all season. Then we made some adjustments at half-time, Played really well second half, I think. I mean, I don't know the stats, but I'm a believer we outplayed them second half for sure. We took a 2-1 lead. They equalised in the last 15 minutes with I believe, a questionable set play that they were given. But, and there's another kick in the teeth for the boys that they bounced back from. Play very strong in overtime. Julian, the left back, put a cross in. Nate Merchant redirects it, and Peebo showed fantastic composure to score what was his 20th career goal, and what a time to score it.
Yeah, I know Peebo. I mean, we'll talk about Matt Devine in a moment, but Peebo obviously has, he's played well this year. The goals haven't been coming until quite recently. So, what's it say about him to, keep his head up and keep moving forward?
Yeah, he's played outstanding. I mean, the goals are one stat, but if you were tracking, ground cover defensively, if you were tracking turnovers forced in the opposing half, if we're tracking passes completed in the attacking third, which we don't have the money for that kind of software, but it is out there in pro soccer. No one would be concerned about Peebo at all. He's played very well. We've had 14 games. He's had 14 good games, and now there's 3 goals, with hopefully some more to come on top of that.
Sure, and then now Matt Devine, our male Bobcat of the week. 2 goals for him. He's got 5 this year. Senior year, a breakout year. He's healthy now. That's the biggest difference, right?
Yeah. No, Matt has been beyond outstanding on and off the field. He played on one of the best youth teams in America. Actually played in the national championship game as a youth player before coming to Bates. He's played left back, right back, centre mid, left wing, right wing, attacking centre mid, centre forward. He's had 2 or 3 long-term injuries. He's had everything thrown at him, and I believe that most college students, given the adversity Matt had, wouldn't have been as motivated and in the place he was coming into their senior year. I think he's done a fantastic job.
And then Middlebury, kind of a rival for the men's soccer team. I know you guys played for a trophy, right? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the Reynolds Cup. So it's Thomas Hadley Reynolds. He was an administrator, if not athletic director at both schools. I think he set up I'm going off the top of my head here, but I think he set up the Middlebury soccer program. And when he sadly passed away, there was a trophy commissioned that's awarded. It's a rivalry trophy between the 2 schools. I've won it twice in my time here, both times at Middlebury, never at home yet. But yeah, I mean, to be given, a trophy and a symbol of success is something the kids certainly deserve this year, so that was a nice moment.
Yeah, because the team has definitely persevered. I mean, it's been sort of a tough season at times, some close losses. What's that say about your team that they're still, playing hard, second to last game of the year there against Middlebury?
I think the toughest challenge in college sports is to go into the end of the season as motivated as you came in, to be all on the same page, all unified, strong relationships with each other, players and coaches, players to player. I think regardless of sport, that is hands down one of the toughest things to do, given the stresses that life and college will throw at you on a daily basis, and they have absolutely done that and getting the rewards now.
Yeah, another guy who's had a breakout year I want to talk about is Nate Merchant. I mean, this guy, he's leading the team in goals. He's really stepped up big time, especially in the second half of the season here as a junior. I mean, he had a big freshman year too, but how about him now? What are you seeing from him? Yeah,
I mean, we changed his position. He played right wing for 4 or 5 games, and then he played centre forward for the last 7, I think, and it might be 1 goal in those 5 games as a right winger and 6 in the 7 as a forward, so maybe I was the problem and I had him in the wrong position. But no, he's asked tactically and effort-wise, he's done everything we asked him to do. He's very fast, he's very confident, he's an excellent centre forward. I think he causes a lot of problems for every team we play against.
Last home game of the year this week against Colby on Garcelon there. What are you hoping to see from your team, and what are you looking back to right now in the season so far in terms of progress the team has made, steps to improve for next year?
Same thing we saw last week. Last weekend they were motivated. They went out there. We built the first 15 minutes of the games on the things we talked about that I'm not going to be putting out there before we play Colby. And they played extremely well. They had adversity thrown at them in multiple ways, big and small, throughout the game, and they bounced back every time and came back on the winning end. So that's what we try to do against Colby, or really anyone we play.
All right, Stuart Flaherty, thanks so much.
Thanks, Aaron.
DeVite's performance stands out the most from Saturday's victory. His 2 goals give him 5 on the year, second most on the team. For his efforts, DeVite is our male Bobcat of the week.
Talking to Matt Devine, our male Bobcat of the week here on the Bobcast. First of all, I want to ask you about the game against Middlebury. 3-2 overtime victory. You had 2 goals in that contest. Take us through the goals. I know the first one you really blasted from about 25 yards out into the top of the net there.
Yeah. First one was a nice play by Justin Iacovino, who got me the ball. I was lucky enough to be able to turn on it, and I just found a little bit of an opening. And Stu always says we have to shoot the ball a lot, so I was just able to get a shot off, and luckily it went in.
And the second one, take us through that one.
Second one was off a set piece. Luke McNabb played a ball in. I was lucky enough to be able to get my head on it. The goalie was kind of out of position, so I just redirected it to the back post, and they found the net, which was nice. So,
what did it mean to the team to get a victory over a nationally ranked opponent like that?
It was big. It was against Middlebury. We have the Reynolds Cup against them. We haven't won that since 2012, which is the year before I got here. So the last 3 years we've lost to Middlebury, and it was really nice to get a victory over them, especially as a senior, be able to hold the trophy at least once, which is good.
Yeah, and you've got 5 goals this year now, I believe. And as a senior and kind of breakthrough year, what's really been clicking this year for you?
I don't know, not much. I mean, I've been kind of approached the season the same. I've been lucky to have stayed pretty healthy this season. The last couple of years, I've been hurt for some significant portions of the season. But I don't know. I'm just thankful my teammates have been getting me the ball in good situations, and I'm glad I've been able to finish it for them. So
the last few years when you've been injured, how did you deal with kind of battling back from those injuries?
Well, I always just stayed focused. That's just one thing Stu always tells us is stay focused on what your goal is. It's, nothing comes easy. Don't expect anything to happen quickly for you. So I've always just, stayed focused on that, and I just worked back. I mean, I love soccer, so not being able to play, hurt, but, getting back as quick as I could was always on my mind. So.
Great, and then you're a senior now, and you're from New Jersey, right? Yeah. So how did you end up coming up to Maine? How did you first learn about Bates back in the day?
Well, when I was playing club soccer, doing the rounds of sending emails out and hoping to get recruited, I was seen at a tournament in Pennsylvania by Stu. I got the email. I knew Bates, the name. I knew the NESCAC conference and the academic prestige that it has. And that was always something important to me. It was academics. So when I got that email, I was really excited about it and made my trip up here. And I loved it right away and decided this is the way I wanted to be. So,
last home game coming up. Has it hit you yet?
I think it will after the game, knowing that it's kind of the end of my college career, probably my competitive soccer career. It's going to be different because we already had our senior day against Conn College, and it happened so early because we had 4 or 5 more games left that it didn't really feel like the end, but it kind of felt like the end then. But no, it'll probably hit me at the end of the game. I'm not too worried about it until then. So.
All right, great. Matt, thanks so much for your time. Congrats again on being our male Bobcat of the Week.
All right, thank you so much.
The volleyball team scored a 3-0 victory over Maine Maritime on Tuesday and followed that up with a 3-0 victory over Worcester State on Saturday. Although they fell to Clark later that day 3-1, Bates got a big week from first-year libero Gabby Istosh. She averaged 6.9 digs and 1.2 assists per set and committed only 1 receiving error over the past 3 matches. For her efforts, Istosh is our female Bobcat of the Week.
Joined by our female Bobcat of the Week, Gabby Istosh, here on the Bobcast. And Gabby, first of all, you're a first year coming up from New York to Maine. What's the adjustment been like so far for you?
The weather is pretty close, similar to what it's like in New York, so that hasn't been too bad. I kind of miss the city, being in the middle of nowhere, but I like it here. It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit of a cultural adjustment, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. It's weird not hearing cars and people all the time, but I like the peace. It's peaceful here, so I like that, yeah.
And what attracted you to Bates coming out of high school?
Just the people here were really nice, and you get that at all the liberal arts schools, but just here, specifically the people, I don't know, I just got a certain feeling, so I just went with it.
Excellent. Then what are your teammates been like, the adjustment here to college?
They're really nice and fun. I don't know what else to say. I love them. They've been really helpful and with my transition here, so yeah.
Now, you play a unique position in volleyball, the libero position. How long have you been playing that, and what does it take to make a successful libero, in your opinion?
I started playing libero Sophomore in high school. I played middle my freshman year of high school, so I can be a middle maybe. But I started playing at sophomore year as a libero, and I don't know, that's been fun.
What makes a good libero? What's your responsibilities out there?
Basically, like, make sure the ball doesn't hit the floor and just throw yourself all over the place to get anything up.
The question maybe people who don't normally watch volleyball always ask is, why is that one player wearing a different colored jersey? What's the reasoning behind that for the libero?
So the libero can go in and out without being subbed in. So basically that's it. And then I can't be front row. I can only play back row.
And so the different colored jerseys so the refs can easily tell.
Yeah. So it's easier instead of going to the line and like subbing in, I can just run in and they don't have to worry about my position or anything. Yeah.
Great. And then obviously you got a couple more matches left in the regular season, Hamilton and then Middlebury. Has anyone talked to you about last year's Hamilton match and how exciting it was? Anything like that?
No, actually. I'm sure I'll get that before the game, but I don't know. I'm excited. We're gonna kill it, hopefully. Yeah.
I know, because you're playing for a NESCAC tournament bid. I mean, do you look at the standings ever?
Yes. So we have to win at least one more game to for sure be in the tournament. So it's pretty serious. We're taking it seriously, and hopefully we get the result we want. Yeah.
Sounds good, Gabby. Thanks so much, and congrats again on being our female Bobcat of the week.
Thank you.
The rowing teams competed at the head of the Charles this past Sunday. In the collegiate eights, the Bates men's rowing team finished 9th out of 37 boats, and the women's team entered 2 boats, with the first varsity 8 finishing 4th out of 28 crews, and the second varsity 8 finishing 12th. Senior co-captain Molly Pritz joined the Bobcast to recap what's known as the world's largest fall regatta.
Recapping the head of the Charles here on the Bobcast with senior co-captain Molly Pritz. And first of all, first varsity 8 stroke for the head of the Charles. What was that like for you? Because I know you're normally in the past years been in the second varsity 8.
Yeah, it was really fun. I actually sat in the same seat my freshman year. Very different crew. None of the same people were going down the course with me this time, but it was a great way to recap my 4 years.
Sure, absolutely. And then obviously the environment there's so many crews from all over the world, right? I mean, what's that like?
Yeah, it's really hectic. Even just going up to the start, there are people cheering the entire way for the races that are going down in the opposite direction. There are spectators lining 5 kilometers of the Charles River, people that know nothing about rowing and people that are diehard rowing fans all come out into downtown Boston and watch, so it's really exciting.
So from your perspective, I mean, how do you avoid getting caught up in like all the atmosphere and stuff?
We definitely focus on it in practice and tuning into our coxswain's voice, and we do a lot of mental training to be able to tune everything else out, both when we're racing and as we're heading up, because it can be extremely distracting, but the coxswain during this race is making some really critical moves, and if the crew isn't responding, then the steering and the passing and all of that will become very, it'll fall apart.
Yeah, I find this interesting because this head of the Charles race is nothing like the races you do in the spring. It's longer, there's turns. I mean, do you prefer this? Is it more fun, or do you like it in a small dosage, perhaps?
Yeah, it's very different. It's challenging because you don't really know where you are. So you have boats racing ahead of you often and racing behind you, and you can kind of tell if you're watching them if they're gaining on you, and the coxswain will tell you if you're gaining on the other crews. But there can be boats, for example, in our race, the boat that started 7th won, and the boat that started first got 3rd. So it's really hard to know as you're going down the course where you stand, whereas in the spring, if you're all going down at the same time, you're looking out, the coxswain's looking out, you're using your peripherals, and you know exactly where you're sitting. And the steering is crazy. There's passing and overtaking crews and crashes, but luckily all of our boats took beautiful lines and no crashes this year.
Yeah, a 4th place finish for the first varsity 8. You know, pretty solid ahead to defending national champions Wellesley, I believe. And so,
but you can't really judge where you're at now, can you? I mean, on this type of course compared to what you do in the spring?
Yes and no. I think it's exciting because there's a strong pack of teams that are kind of at the top leading Division III rowing, and the very top of that, the champions every year, has been changing. So it's changed the last 4 years. So that's really exciting. And the fall is somewhat of a predictor to test your speed, but at the same time, lineups change drastically. Winter training programs are very different across the country, and it's hard to know. So hopefully we will use this as momentum into the winter, and kind of it'll fuel us through our strong winter training program into the spring.
All right, Molly Pritch, thanks so much for recapping the Head to Charles with us.
Thank you.
This upcoming week features some huge games. Just like last year, it's basically coming down to one game against Colby for the field hockey team this Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Win, and they're in the NESCAC tournament. Volleyball hosts Hamilton Friday at 8 and Middlebury Saturday at 2, with a spot in the NESCAC tournament on the line for them as well. The cross-country teams head to the NESCAC Championships this weekend. And, of course, football hosts Colby Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. for the start of the CBB Series. We will recap all that and more next time on the Bates Bobcast.
Bates, 5 billion on every game.